Hi, ladybugs. I just wanted to say hi, but I want to show you something. Look at this. Look at that girl. Look at that chuggy. Look at that chuggy. Look at that chuggy. Every time I come in this room, she goes under the bed. It's really cute. It's like her little personal cave. So I wanted to address something that I said in a video and someone responded. I deleted the comment that because I felt like it was not productive, but I wanted to address it. So I did a video a while ago where I said that you should just kind of put your trauma behind you and move on, and it's a conscious choice. I don't know if you guys remember that video, but I was basically saying that, if you let your past infiltrate your present, then you are letting the people who hurt you win. So you should not do that. And the comment was, some people had it rougher than others. It's easy to say when you've had a pretty easy life, or something to that effect. I don't know if that was the exact words, but something to that effect. Give me that. Give me that. No, let go. Let go. Brought me a Q-tip. So anyway, I wanted to address this because I think it's easy to assume with my positivity and my optimism that my life was fairly easy, but it wasn't. And I wanted to just kind of talk about that a little bit because, so one of the things I did in college when I was getting my bachelor's degree is that my thesis, so when you do a thesis, it's basically like proving a hypothesis, was that trauma is relative. That was my hypothesis. And what I mean by that is trauma is relative to the person experiencing it. So the worst that you've ever been through is the worst that you've ever been through. So it's the worst for you. It's the worst that your mind can perceive because it's the worst you've ever been through. Your mind cannot perceive a situation or understand a situation that you haven't been through. So in everybody's life, no matter how easy or hard someone else may see your life as, let me grab Julia. The worst that you've ever been through is the worst that you've ever been through. And that will always be the worst that you've ever been through. Now we can listen and empathize with somebody who may have gone through something worse than we did, but that doesn't mean that we can understand it or know what it feels like, right? So I wanted to tell you a little bit about my life so you can understand that I did not have an easy life. I did not have a good life. And when I say you can put it behind you, if I can, anyone can. So I'm not going to get into a lot of details, but I will tell you like some basic information. So not only were we essayed by my father, but he passed us around to his friends from the time I was 6 months old. And my parents abandoned us, literally, like you see in old movies where they literally left us on someone's doorstep in the snow in diapers. Yeah, we had that happen. There was one time when the neighbors called CPS and they came over, and our parents had been gone for 2 weeks and we were eating whatever we could find on the floor. I was only 9 months old. I was crawling around. So obviously I don't remember it, but that's a situation that happened. In fact, my caseworker, who I've reconnected with about 5 years ago, said that our case was the worst he'd ever seen in his 40 years of being a worker. Now, I'm not telling you this for sympathy or anything. I just want to make you understand that anybody can put it behind them. After I was in foster care the first time at 6 months, and then after that, we went back and forth to our parents, back and forth, back and forth. Like, they just made him take a parenting class and then they'd get us back, which I think is really messed up. I don't think that's right. I mean, really, how many chances do you need to screw up a kid, right? But whatever, it is what it is. And we were in foster care 17 different times. Finally, at the age of 7, they severed my parents' rights. I had been in the hospital for multiple bouts of pneumonia, broken leg. I had a broken leg. I was in the hospital for fractured ribs. I was in the hospital for head injuries. All kinds of things. And when I was 7, they severed my parents' rights and we went into foster care permanently. Well, we were in foster care for 3 years. And I say we because I did have a sibling, although I'm not going to give away any identifying details about that sibling because I don't think it's right to put stuff out on the internet without people's permission. So I'm not going to give you any information, but that's why I'm saying we. And at the age of 10, we were finally adopted. Now, when I was adopted, I had this very romantic idea of what life was going to be like after being adopted. And it was nothing at all like that, at all. I was being abused by a sibling, and rather than deal with it, my mother threw me out at 15. So I lived with my mother from 10 to 15, and then I was out on my own. I was emancipated. I got an apartment at 15. I graduated high school at 16. I actually had a therapist who did my hair for my prom because I wasn't in contact with my mother at the time. And she was a single woman that adopted us. After that, I think I had a lot more emotional trauma as an adult than I did any kind of physical or sexual trauma, because that pretty much stopped when I was 15. But I was alone, and I never had anyone to rely on, so that was really hard. So I'm just telling you this because I want to point out that I did not have an easy time. I did not have an easy life. I did not have, I had to have reconstructive surgery on certain parts of my body due to the abuse when I was maybe 7 or 8. So it's easy to say, yeah, it's easy for you to put it behind you when you've had such an easy life. Because I did not have an easy life. I had a really, really bad life. In fact, I spent many decades wondering why I was even born, because I just felt like I was just there for people to abuse. That was my purpose in life. And that was a really hard thing to think. But my point about putting it all behind you and moving on is that anybody, regardless of how severe the trauma was, can do that. You can put it behind you. You can move on. You cannot let it affect your present. And it's really destructive for anyone to assume that somebody else had an easy life, because, like I said, what am I trying to say? The trauma that you experience is the worst that you have ever experienced, and it will always be the worst you have ever experienced. So to that person, their trauma is bad. I don't think it's a good idea in life to let your trauma guide your life, to allow your past to govern your present or your future. I don't think that's productive. I think that allows the people who hurt you to be successful in what they were trying to do. But it's not productive or healthy to assume that somebody else had an easy life simply because they are a positive person or because they were able to put things behind them. I think it's productive and it's the best thing for everybody, although this is just my opinion, and obviously people might have different opinions, to put their past behind them and to move on. When you let your past become your present, you are allowing all of that evil and all of that treachery that you had to endure to stay with you. And that is not productive. So when I say that you should let your, past go, I'm thinking about what's best for you as a person, not what's best for the people who hurt you or for any of that. It's what's best for you. It's the human heart was not meant to hang on to all that negativity for years and years and years. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is to let it go and let it become a part of your past. Our pasts we are shaped by our past. They make us who we are. They make us into the people that we are, but we don't have to hang on to the hurt. We don't have to hang on to the pain. We don't have to hang on to the feeling of helplessness. We just don't have to do that. You know what I mean? So My point in all this was to say, first of all, don't go around telling people it must be easy for you because you had an easy life, because a lot of us didn't have an easy life, number one. And number two, it's not really okay to judge someone's life that you know nothing about. In in general, as a general rule, I tend not to speak about my past too much. And there's a reason for that. Number one, it's nobody's business but my own. And number two, to speak about it often will keep it in the forefront of my mind. And that's not where I want it. So that's why I don't speak about it often. But I did not have an easy time and I did not have an easy life. But I have overcome that. I am not a survivor. I am more than a survivor because I don't choose to just survive. And you don't have to choose to just survive. Don't listen to people who say, well, you had an easy life, so you don't know what it's like. Nobody knows what other people went through. And it's not productive or kind to say that to people. You really don't know what people have gone through. And I just want to make it clear that while, yes, I did have a really horrible start in life, I choose to make something different of myself and of my life. And the whole cycle of abuse, that is a lame ass excuse. I was horrifically abused and I have never abused my children, ever. I made a conscious choice to be a different parent. And sometimes it takes that. Sometimes you have to make a conscious choice. If all you know is abuse, you have to make a conscious choice to be a different kind of parent. But you can do it. If you are young and you come from a bad upbringing or a bad background and you are looking at having a child, make a conscious decision, make a promise to yourself that that cycle ends with you. That's what I did. I absolutely refuse to have my children suffer the way that I suffered. And I never abused my children. I never neglected my children. I love my daughters and I've raised them well. They are both, for the most part, good people. But it's really important that you make that conscious choice, because the cycle of abuse does not have to happen. It only happens when people choose, and I say choose because once we're adults, we make those decisions. When people choose to say, well, I was abused, so, there's nothing I can do about it. It's the cycle of abuse. And that is bullshit. Excuse my language. You don't need to abuse your children because you were abused. And saying that you abused them because you were abused is a lame excuse. Now, obviously, nobody goes around talking about whether or not they abuse their children, but I'm telling you, in our heart of hearts, we know what we've done. I knew that my whole family had lost their kids to the state, and I refused to be a part of that number. I really took being a mother very seriously. And I hope all of you do. I hope all of you remember that your children should not pay for the sins of the people who raised you. You can make different choices. And it's the most responsible thing to do. So I'm going to go on to something more positive and light, but I just wanted to address that because it was in my comments and I didn't know how many people saw it, and I just wanted to address it and say I did not have an easy time, but anybody can put their past behind them. Anybody can do that, and anybody can move on from the past. So I don't know why my phone looks foggy. Hold on. Let me try to, I'm not sure where my camera is, but I'm going to try to, oh, there we go. That's better. I must have had like a fingerprint or something on the camera. Look how pretty she is. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I did want to just take a minute because I know the comment was there and I just wanted to address it. I think it's important for creators to address comments, especially comments that may not be as productive as other comments. You know what I mean? I think that's important. So I wanted to address that. And if somebody else saw it, I apologize that you had to see that comment. It's not productive. It's not helpful. But, people are going to say different things and all we can do is address them when they come. So we all have regrets. We're all gonna have regrets. But if you use every time you've messed up as a learning experience, then there is no shame in that. There is nothing but glory in that. So let's go on to something more positive. I just wanted to address that comment and to give my thoughts about it. But other than that, I want to talk about some positive things. So what's the weather like where you guys are today? Today, it is going to be 97 here. It is going to be a hot day. So we're keeping the dogs in the house and keeping the house closed up so that we can keep, the heat out. It doesn't always work, but it works a lot of the time. So that's okay. It's supposed to be, we have an excessive heat warning coming up. It's supposed to be very hot the next couple days. Like, I think today is supposed to be 97, tomorrow 100, and then 99, I think. So we have a lengthy heat spell coming up that's going to be so much fun. Not. Here is Miss Julia. Look at how pretty she looks. I love her dark hair. Here's another bangs I forgot to pull out. I'm trying to get all these bangs out of her ponytails. How do you guys get the bangs out of the ponytails? They just keep showing up. Even though I try to get them out, and then they stand up like these little, hold on, these little hairs right here. They stand up because they're not long enough. So I'm trying to all right, let's see. Here's more bangs. So do you guys have a trick to get the bangs out of the ponytails? Anybody? It's such a pain. It's such a pain. All right, let's see if we can. Let's see. Okay, here's some more. I always end up with the bangs in the ponytails. I know it's kind of funny, but I just do. I don't know why. I have a hard time getting the bangs out of the ponytails. I wish there was a trick, like a hack that you could use to keep the bangs out of the ponytails. All right, before I put this up, let me see what we got here. All right, let's see. There we go. All right, now let's see if looks like it's gonna. Looks like we got them this time. Let's see. G-bangs. All right, and then we'll do the other side. Does it bother you guys when the bangs get in the ponytails? I don't know. It bothers me. I don't like it. I mean, it's kind of cute, but I'd rather not have the bangs in the ponytails. All right, there. That one looks good. Okay. Now, let's get this one here. And we got to fix the bangs out in this one. I think I did a pretty good job on that one this time. I finally got the bangs out of the ponytails. So, let's see. Here's some. Okay. Let's see if we can